Good morning. We got the on timers.
Hi, everybody.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning, how you feeling?
I think I'm feeling 70 to 80%. So that's a real win. Anybody want to know how to lose some weight? Get the flu A. I think I lost 4 pounds in 3 days.
Influenza A. Yeah, my brother just had that. Yep.
Probably
Um,
not the recommended way, but
yeah.
so we'll get wait for a few more people to get on, then we'll get the show started. I don't know if I don't know who's is anyone
Frank.
from.
Frank.
Hey, are you on today?
It's Frank's turn today.
Oh, it's Frankie's. Okay.
I'm next week. How you feeling? Are you feeling okay?
Yeah, I feel like 200% better because I can actually function.
Okay. Well, that's good to hear.
So I don't know if Frank's not here. I'll just ask the attendees here. Um, Tiffany and Brian. Interest rates are about the same.
No, they're actually lower today.
What was
Bond's
that?
doing great, and I would say we're definitely an eighth to a quarter lower than last Friday.
Okay. And what
Next week
was
coming
the?
up, we have a huge week. We have people. We have our meeting on Friday. We have the inflation meeting. So by next Friday, we should have some more data for you guys. But the good thing is, if you have loans that are out there and they're floating, I would suggest doing a short-term float. If they're long-term, I would suggest locking. Again, just keep checking your pre-approvals to make sure that the rates are not expiring. But other than that, we're in a really good position. The inflation rate is obviously still above 2%, which is not where we want it to be. We want it to be below 2, but it's going in the right direction.
Fantastic. Well, it's kind of all the interest rate predictors have all been fired, right?
Exactly. I hope so.
Because I don't think anybody's been able to get it right.
No.
When I go out to R4 next week, I think Brian Buffini will be, they'll put him in a different room with his interest rate forecast from last year.
Yeah,
It
seriously.
showed a nice thing with them steadily going down.
Yeah. Well, this is
But
the lowest they've been. I think they said it's a 3-week trend of decline. So we're definitely on the decline. I mean, we were up to almost 7 3/4 at one point last month. So this is we're going in the right direction so far.
fantastic. So we're gonna talk today about leverage in our business. And when I put out the word leverage, what does that mean to any of you? Like to use leverage in your business?
Make a little bit go a long way.
Make a little bit go a long way. So that's like leverage your resources, right? Um, and I know like in the lending business, Tiffany, when you get to do a lot, you often get access to more processors or an LOA, right? Loan officer assistant to
Yeah.
leverage your time, right?
Yeah, when you say leverage, I think of compensating factors as well. So if there's an area of weakness, you can leverage it by maybe they have stronger assets or a higher FICO score. So I like the word leverage a lot because it gives you some playroom, room to play with the file.
Right. And when I hear the word leverage, you know, uh, I think of somebody with a really large pry bar, and they're lifting up a huge boulder with this pry bar by using the leverage, right? By taking it from the end and using it that way. Um, what does leverage mean to anybody else?
Hey, Rob, it's Cindy in Arizona. I think of leverage of all the connections you have in your business and really asking for the referrals and maximizing the networking opportunities to expand your business.
Cindy, that you nailed one of my my points I'm going to discuss. I give you a gold star for that. But leveraging your business relationships is something that I think a lot of us don't even we're not intentional enough about it. Right, Cindy, you've seen a lot of people who've got a lot of great connections, but probably, they don't harvest all the outcome that they can because they're not intentional about using it. So thank you for sharing that. Um, when I talk about leverage, anybody else think of anything else that
I
pertains to
think
leverage?
I think leveraging using your knowledge and information that you
Yeah.
can provide to give you leverage with maybe getting a contract completed or a deal put together. So in those terms,
No, that's excellent.
I
Rob,
think,
Uh,
okay,
Go ahead, Chrissy.
I think of putting 3.5% down and getting appreciation on 100% of your real
Yeah,
estate investment.
that's a that's another uh, excellent leverage case. And Chrissy, I'm going to talk about that a little bit more. But again, it's almost like you and Cindy saw my notes. But putting down 3.5% or 3% or a VA putting zero down. But let's just take the 3% down payment or 3.5. If on average you're probably going to see real estate appreciate somewhere in the 4 to 5% rate annually. That means that with 3% down or 3.5% down, Chrissy, what's your rate of return on your deposit or your down payment?
Wait a minute, there it is. I didn't mean to show you my rollers. Um, so if you're putting 3.5% down and nationwide properties are appreciated like 5% last year, we just read that on something I printed out from NAR. Around here, it's more like 11%, I would say, on single family homes. So that's a big difference.
So, so, so the rate of return on your investment with 3.5% down, if it was 7%, it would be a 200%. If it was 11%, it would be a 300% return. Like, there's no place you can invest your money and get that type of return without it being incredibly speculative or illegal.
And you get to live in it.
And you get to live in it, and it's a hard asset, right? It's something that you see. It's not a paper asset.
When I got into the business in 1980, it was all about inflation because the interest rate went from 8% to 21%. So now it's the same thing. We're still fighting inflation and leverage. The best hedge against inflation is real estate.
Yep. So, yeah, when there is inflation, real estate owning hard assets is another good place to be because your assets appreciate. So you're basically hedging yourself against, the risk of asset depreciation by being, a leveraged asset owner. Um, I think we've got most of them. Anybody have? I think there's two other leverage principles that I want to extract from you before I go into detail.
Rob,
Yes.
what about leveraging technology that we have available to us? This AI we have now and our CRM and all of that.
Gold star for you.
Mhm.
That's another one. You leveraging technology to be more efficient, leveraging technology to be more complete in making sure that we make all the contacts that we need to do. Those are all very good ways to use leverage. And there's one other way that I think we might not tap into here right away, but I want to see if anybody can kind of get my kind of my last major point of leverage.
So Rob, in the chat, Angie is saying using your A team, all the people that are in the transaction you can refer to, your client to, whether it's mortgage, attorney, title, home inspections, etc.
Um, that's one that that's one that I didn't even have on my list, but that's excellent, Angie, because that helps you ensure that things get closed. It gives you the experience guarantee. Um, and I'll try for one or two other people to see if you could pick up on the last leverage piece that I want everybody to think about.
Rob, I have one, and I don't
Go
know if
ahead.
it's your last piece. Stories, leveraging stories, either your experiences or a colleague's experience, but using that story as leverage to help potentially convince a client to follow your advice.
Um, that is another excellent one that I didn't have there, Alex. But let me see. I think I saw it in the chat here.
Time.
How about,
Audrey's saying time.
how about personal, reviews?
Um,
I
yeah,
think
personal.
I think investing in yourself, like taking like joining Path to Platinum and things like that, where you invest in yourself to make yourself a better, um, whatever it is you're trying to be. That's leverage.
So these are all excellent examples. The one that I was looking for was leveraging our time, and more specifically, I want to challenge everybody to start to think about what your hourly rate is. And I know we're not hourly workers, but what do you want to earn? Divide it by the number of hours that you want to work. Who knows that number without having to think about it? Beth, what's your number?
Me, Beth?
400.
No,
Oh, okay,
no.
the other Beth. Okay.
So your number is 400,
An hour.
and how many hours do you want to work a year?
Well, I work between 45 and 50 a week, but I don't work every week. Like I'm not in Arizona right now. I'm in Missouri right now. And so I'm working less hours, but on an average, I would say about 40.
Okay. So if you do 40, and let's just say you work 36 weeks out of the year, it's 3 weeks every month. That's almost 600K if you do that. Now,
What I'm shooting for.
now Beth,
I'm not there.
Now Beth, I'm going to share with you that, do you ever think about, should I hire somebody to do this, or should I try to do this myself? Do you ever
I do
grapple with
actually.
that?
I am looking for someone to be an assistant at this time because I waste a lot of time, I think, doing things that are not productive for pursuing business.
Yep. So, when you know what your number is and you know what the alternative is, it will help you to make some better decisions. Okay.
Yeah, that's an
And
expensive assistant, $400 an hour.
well, I have a saying, Beth. If you don't have an assistant, you are your assistant, right? So you're doing $15, $20 an hour work if you don't have somebody to do that for you, right? Or if you don't have a process to make that simple, then you're basically um, acting as your assistant. And every hour that you spend doing administrative work, that pushes you further and further away from your goal, correct? Right? So,
Maybe. Right.
so what are some of the things that you can outsource?
I can, oh, geez, I have a list.
So
I'm on my,
I'm gonna mute the group so we can come back
okay.
to here. getting some background noise. So what are some of the things that you can outsource?
I'm going to type it in the chat because I have people in the background and I can't reduce
No
the
worries,
noise.
no worries.
Okay.
And anybody else have things that you feel like you can that are ideal to be outsourced? Bobby, did you want to say something?
I mean, truthfully, it's an endless list. Lockboxes, signs, administrative work, you know, showing feedback, you know, the list goes on and on. There's
And,
go ahead.
and Bobby, why do you think a lot of people don't do that?
Well, I'll answer personally is it's tough to let go of the control of it. Whether you don't trust anybody to do it, or you just are not capable of letting go, which is one of my problems.
So your bigger challenge is um, you're not comfortable letting go a lot of those things because you want to make sure it's perfect.
Well, I don't know if perfect is the word, but I just want to make sure it's taken care of.
Now, I think you hit a spot which is comfort. Delegating things, Bobby. I think another hindrance to getting this done is the time it takes to get it set up, right? To try to identify somebody who, if you need somebody to open up a door or meet an inspector or wait for the CO or whatever you need to do, you want to make sure that you can rely on that person and that is easily set up to be completed. Has anybody ever delegated stuff and had somebody disappoint them in a big way?
And that's part of the problem, Rob. I think it's happened to a lot of us.
Right. Um, and when that happens, it tends to, have us retract and say, you know what, it was a great idea, but I'm not going to do it. Um, and I think that's going to be extremely limiting to our ability to grow the business. Um, you know, I want to just take another two or three people, and I want to have you take a minute to figure out what what you want to make this year, how many weeks and how many hours per week you want to work, and tell me what your hourly rate is if you're comfortable saying this amongst your peers here, because it's really helpful for us to go through this exercise. So is there anyone else that knows what your hourly rate is for the time that you invest in 2025? Anybody? Everybody's shy all of a sudden.
Where's Glenn Baker when you need him?
Exactly.
He's got it down to the penny.
Sometimes you don't think it's worthwhile discussing, and you go and take it on yourself. You think it's trivial when it's more meaningful than being trivial.
So I'm gonna call on somebody I just spoke with earlier. Audrey, what's your hourly rate? You are you paying attention there, Audrey?
Yes,
So
I
what's
have,
what's your hourly rate?
I don't know what my hourly rate is.
Um, what do you want to earn in 2025?
Well, I want to do better than last year, so I'd say probably 150.
Okay. And then you know, how many hours do you want to commit to working, you know, per week, let's say?
per week.
I think
I would say,
100, $400 an hour is reasonable. I mean,
So,
think,
so
think
Audrey,
about what we have to do.
so Audrey, how many hours do you work a week?
um, I would say it's probably close to 40, to be honest, if I'm being honest.
And how many weeks do you work full out where you're, you know, taking out the holidays and vacations?
Yeah, because I don't work much in August, and I take holidays, most holidays off. And I do take vacation in May and also in December. So there are a few weeks in the year that I really don't put that much.
So would it be safe to say 40 weeks out of the year that you're
Yeah,
working?
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 40 times 40 is 1,600 hours. So 150,000 divided by 1,600 hours is $94 an hour. So roughly $100 an hour.
100.
Now,
So
why is that important?
because then we have to be able to see if we're making what we need to make for the hours that we're working.
Yeah, and the other reason why it's important is if there are things that you're looking at doing that could be done for $35 an hour, right? If you had five of those, if you had 5 hours that you were doing that you were making $35 an hour, you're losing $65 every hour you're doing those. Does that make sense?
Yeah,
It's moving you further.
I just got somebody to make my calls for me, but I need to work on other stuff.
Now, that one frightens me.
Why?
When you say make your call, how are they making your calls for you?
Like I give them the calls that, people that I are on my long-term list, or they're not the short-term list. I have them follow up with those people for me rather than spending time with them. I know some of them aren't ready right now, but I just don't want to have them think that I disappeared or something.
Okay. Well, I think that those are probably the highest value time that you do. The only thing that potentially makes sense to outsource on the marketing side would be maybe if you're calling expireds or FISBOs, even though I don't really believe that that provides the best result by outsourcing. I think there are some things that we need to do. For example, maybe the initial buyer's consultation, the listing appointment. These are things that I think are virtually impossible to outsource early on in our careers unless you have a team and you have somebody that you really trust as your A player. Um, and certainly, calling people that may be in your sphere, that people that are in your sphere that might be long-term business, might be hard to outsource that to have somebody else call and take your place. If that makes any sense. I'm gonna just mute everybody for a sec. And one other person for an hourly rate. One other volunteer.
I'll go, Rob.
Go ahead.
So I just finished up with Path to Platinum. So obviously the goal is 250. I'd say right now I'm working probably about 30 hours a week with 2 nights a week at the tavern, trying to meet more locals. So my hourly rate would be about 200, and I work probably about 42 weeks of the year so far.
So you're 30 hours times 42 weeks.
Yes, sir. Times 200.
Your math is perfect.
Thank you.
So, here's how I want you to think about this, Ryan, in your head is if there are things that are administ if there are things that are administrative, right, that don't require your higher level skill, think about if there's a way that you can delegate some of those tasks. Okay. And I should put a caveat to that. When you delegate those tasks, you need to be putting in income producing activities to replace those tasks. Right. So
Yep.
if you just pay somebody to do something and you sit at home and you do nothing, that's not going to put you on the path to platinum.
Exactly.
That's going to put you on the path to poverty. Um, what are some of the things that come to mind? I think Ron, you had a couple of things that you'd mentioned that we could be delegating, and Ryan, if you have a couple of ideas.
Lisa, how are you? I'm on the mastermind. How are
Oh,
you?
follow-up calls I
Well,
do.
how about
Good to
yourself?
see
Go ahead, Ryan. Follow-up calls?
Yeah, follow-up calls I do. Ryan does a lot of prospecting, so he does all the calls. And I do some at early evening. And but I have him go show properties. I delegate that. Meet an inspector, meet an appraiser, that type of thing.
Gotcha. And Ryan, do you have any things that come to mind for you to delegate?
Maybe setting up showings. It could take a few minutes, but maybe that could save a little bit of time to maybe make a phone call, reach out to somebody new.
To set up the showings for appointments with a client?
Yep, possibly.
That makes sense. Anybody else have any thoughts?
Some agents probably work as a single agent, so it's pretty hard to delegate. But if you have a team, you can delegate a lot of the things that you do to your team members. Let them do a lot of the footwork to get more experience and get involved in your business to make it better.
So, I believe in half of that, Ron. And if you don't have a team, it's harder. But if you don't have a team, if there's a will, there's a way, right? Um, I'll bet you that there's a handful of people on this call that know somebody or who, might even at times work for $50 an hour to do a few things. So what your threshold is, you can find people to do those things in advance. So you could find somebody in the office, maybe even, talk to your office manager. Maybe the admin could even help you set up some of your showing appointments. Maybe you can get a virtual that can help you set up some of the showing appointments. Maybe, 4 or 5 individual agents can get together and share a administrative resource. There's just so many different possibilities that exist. And
Rob, I know that there are many agents who delegate doing open houses to other agents. This worked very well for me when I was first starting in real estate because I did open houses for any agent who would let me. And that actually got me a lot of exposure in my marketplace.
yeah, I mean, when I take a look at where the business has put us, Robert, I'm thinking to myself, that FaceTime that you have with a client is so valuable that I would find it hard not to make that some of the most available time I would have, right? Because um, in New Jersey, who did an open house in the past month? Tony, how many people went to the open house?
Five families, but it was like a deluge. It was, the rain was crazy.
Okay,
But at
so
any rate, and this week I'll have another one, so I'm sure it'll be more.
so who else in New Jersey had an open house in the past month? Paul?
Yes, we had two and we roughly had, at both of them, like 5 people roughly.
And Bobby, you had one?
Yes, I had one last weekend in the rain, and then I had one maybe 2 weeks prior to that. The last weekend with the rain, I was very surprised. We had six buyers come in. They were all working with agents. They all produced business cards, but we had 6 people come in the rain.
And how about the week before? Did you have a good turnout, Bobby?
About 2 weeks prior to that, we had about 20 people come.
And how many of them were not working with an agent?
Well, according to my sign-in sheet, only 3.
I had the same thing. I had 25 people at my open house last Saturday and only had 2 that were not with agents.
And so how many did you have, Mickey? Mickey, how many did you have? 20 and 2 with not with agents?
Sorry,
Not
25 and only 2 did not have agents. And one of them had that phone number was so hard to figure out, or she purposely wrote it wrong, that I can't get a hold of her.
You mean, and this was one that didn't have an agent?
Correct.
I have some that's frustrating. I would probably try to make sure that you read back the numbers or maybe sign them in yourself so that that doesn't happen. Um, but I know how frustrating that is. But so it seems like you're saying maybe only 10% of the people are coming in without a buyer's agent. Now, how many of you believe that that's the true number? Do you think that it is 90% have an agent, or you think some people are just trying to brush us off?
Rob, I think that's the change in real estate. I just wrote that on the thing. All the houses that I had listed the end of last year, the open houses, everybody who came in came with a business card, or they could tell me who their real estate agent is, because I usually ask. They all have agents now, so it's like we're having open houses to show the houses to people who don't want to take their clients out.
And Rob, the one thing that I'm asking at these open houses is, have you signed a buyer agency agreement? And without hesitation, they all say yes.
Do you believe them?
I follow up. I said, well, do you have a copy of it? Do you know, is there an expiration date on it? And that they didn't know the answer to, but they all said they signed a buyer agency agreement. I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt. They knew what I was talking about. They didn't hesitate. And I asked the question, they answered immediately.
Now, when you have an open house and you have 6 people that sign in with a buyer agents that say they're working with an agent, you have them write their agent's name down?
Name and phone number.
Do you follow up with the agent the next day or two?
Yeah, I've done that, yes, recently.
Hey, Rob, here's a new one for me. One of the offers, so I got 8 offers on that property, and one of the offers that came through was from a buyer that had a lawyer represent them. They didn't want, they didn't have an agent, but they had their lawyer send me an offer and reach out to me.
Okay. Now, did the lawyer put a commission in? Mickey? Did the lawyer try to get a commission? I can't hear you.
Okay, sorry. I was having a hard time with that. No, no commission, but they also they didn't have the highest offer, so they didn't get it.
Okay. So they were basically trying to circumvent the system. How
Yeah,
about,
and he didn't want, to work with a buyer. I mean, with an agent, sorry,
how
the
about,
buyer, that is.
all right, thank you. And how about our Florida group? Anybody have an open house in the past month?
I
Lisa's
did one
had a
at the
few.
beginning.
I'm
Go
sorry?
ahead.
Go ahead, Colleen.
No, I said Lisa. I don't know if Lisa's on the line, but she's had a few open houses.
Yes, hello, Colleen. Yes, I had open house, and actually, they all came without agents.
And how many people were in your open houses?
Well, the last one I did, there weren't that many. It was about 3 families, 4 families.
And the one before?
The one before was, I would say, perhaps 3/4 came, but three quarters of the ones that came said that they had agents, but the agents did not show up with them. And then a quarter of them didn't have agents.
And that was the one before?
Mm-hmm.
And how many people showed up?
About 6 families.
And do you think that that the people that were showing up were mildly serious or very serious buyers? What's your gut?
Mildly serious.
Okay. So it seems like, 60% over the two open houses had agents in your instance. Ryan, did you do an open house?
Yeah, so I ran one actually at the beginning of this month. It's been listed for 150 days. I know the sellers, they were just seeing if I could maybe draw some attention up. Nobody walked through the door. So I usually don't host open houses that have been on the market for quite a bit of time, but they said, hey, we're offering 3.8% to a buyer's agent. So I was like, might as well spend a couple hours, see if somebody walked through the door, but nobody did. So
And how did you promote it on Zillow?
I did not promote it on Zillow. The listing agent put it on MLS. I created an event and posted it in the local Florida pages. Threw out some video there. So
Rob, I have a couple Florida agents, and I don't know if some that are on the call do this, but the agents in Florida advertise in out-of-state newspapers. They go to, I guess, certain states that are migrating into Florida, and they post weekly advertising to get the buyers' attentions from other states. And I thought that was brilliant. I'm not sure if everybody does that, because in New Jersey we don't really do that. So that was just one thing that I took away from an open house that I did in Florida a few weeks ago. I just thought that was cool.
I appreciate you sharing that.
Rob, I have a thought. On the house you've had listed for 150 days, instead of raising the selling agent's commission, perhaps you could take that part of that money and put it towards buying down the mortgage rate. Maybe that would be more appealing.
yep, that's a great idea. So I'm not listing the property. I just ran to the seller of the property. It just seems to be the best idea they had was to give the listing agent 1% and see if they could draw buyers with a bigger buyer agent agreement. But I usually stay away from doing open houses that have been on the market for that long.
Appreciate that. What about Arizona? Um, Anybody in Arizona do an open house in the past month or two? Gary, you still on? Gary Greenacre, you're still there, right? All right, we won't be able to get the temperature.
There we go. Hey, sorry, Tucson can respond to that.
Go ahead.
We had Stephanie Kaczorowski here do an open house, and she gets pretty good flow through it. Based on the Pathway to Platinum program, she pushed herself out. I don't know how many were unrepresented, but medium flow, I'd say, for her.
Gotcha. And Gary, have you heard any feedback from agents in the Scottsdale area on your open house activity?
Pretty hit and miss. Some of them have had great turnouts, and then others have had. I want to say one of the agents has done the last 2 weekends, and I think had one person come through the 2 days, and they were with an agent.
Okay. And what would you think and this is our leadership team there, Gary Greenacre and Wilson. What do you think the percentage of agents coming through that say they, or buyers coming through that say they have an agent are to open houses? If you were to spitball it.
Yeah, I'm going to say probably 50%. I mean, I don't think it's any higher than that. I think a lot of times the buyers are out there kicking the tires themselves. And the last one I held, which would be going back 3-4 months ago, people coming in that had agents were pretty upfront with it, walking in saying, hey, I do have an agent. I mean, a couple of them even had their business cards with, and so, I would say 50.
How about down in Tucson, Wilson? About the same, or?
Last open house I held was about months ago, and I would say maybe a little bit higher, but also asking the right questions to them that aren't too probing kind of reveals that a lot of them say they have an agent because they know that we're going to use car sales the hell out of them. So, I mean, I think the reality is maybe 50, maybe a little bit less, maybe 40.
Now, what is? Let's just say, 60% of the buyers have an agent. What does that mean about doing an open house to you, or even if it's 75% have an agent?
I mean, it's more exposure in the neighborhood. I use open houses, and I'm upfront and honest with my sellers about them that I'm not here to sell the house. I'm here for buyers. I'm here for exposure for myself. That's what an open house truly is. The amount of people that walk in to buy that one house, unheard of. So I'm always upfront and honest with them, and even the people who come to the open house. That's why I door knock 10 doors on each side of every open house that I do. I'm really there to continue pushing my brand and who I am as an agent. So I see open houses as a very different tool than some agents.
I just think that, who's been in the business for more than 30 years? Raise your hand.
You
Now,
can't see me, but I have.
now, has the open house changed in 30 years? Forget about how you find it. But when you go to the open house, has it really changed in 30 years?
No.
No.
Ron? Piccolo? No. So what can you think of that hasn't changed in 30 years? Everything's changed in 30 years, but we haven't upped the game for an open house in 30 years. If I was doing an open house and my hourly rate was $200 to $400 an hour, right? I would make it an experience. Okay. And what I would do is I would bring my lender, I would bring another person from the office, I would set appointments for other homes that are similar. And if somebody comes in there and they say, well, this one doesn't work because X, Y, and Z, hey, you know what? Let me educate you on some other homes in the market, right? Because even the best salesperson, we can't convince somebody to buy a house that's not right for them, right? So it's not like we're doing our sellers a disservice by serving a consumer that walks in the door, a buyer, correct? So if we were to give them, hey, here's several other homes. As a matter of fact, I have my associate Jolie here who can take you out and go see them this afternoon right now if you'd like, because you're already made appointments to go see them. Like to me, that would be a completely different experience from what we're accustomed now, right? Maybe even
Definitely, Rob, Erica and myself used to do that the whole time several years ago before we joined Remax. We would take our mortgage broker, Erica and I would both be there. We'd take a list of properties, and we actually sold a property from we didn't sell the open house. We sold the property from that open house. We're going to start doing that again. It's excellent.
yeah, I mean it's because every other open house is just as lame as the last one and the next one. No,
Exactly.
no offense to any of you, but we haven't been creative about it.
No.
So, yes. Go ahead. Oh, you're trying to chime in. I don't hear you now.
Yeah,
Um,
we do comps in a neighborhood. We also bring in other listings in in around that price range. And we also have our mortgage broker. So it is different from years ago. I mean, we used to just sit in the house and wait for people to come in. But now it's more technical. You have to have more products to offer people. And having a list of properties that are available in the area or around the area is what we always do that.
and
And
and and Dan, did you have a comment?
Yes, I do. Tell me if it's too long, but I started in the business over 30 years ago in Scottsdale, and yes, I was my best thing was an open house. It was one house here, not too far from here, in McCormick Ranch. I was holding it open every day of the week, and the idea was I did qualify. It wasn't my listing, and before doing an open house there, I actually handpicked that open house because it was in a best location. It has amazing curb appeal. It's not the one on the main street that people go in and make a U-turn. They don't stop. It's a big street. It's noisy. So people really poured into that house. It was a desirable neighborhood. It's priced okay. So it was not just an open house that you throw the signs in and then you go put the signs and then you go and do an open house. So that was one thing. Then some of the people I met there, I still in touch with them, over 30 years ago. So it's a pretty amazing open house. And honestly, as an agent, I didn't want to sell it even. It was such a good open house. I met a lot of people there. So if you really find a good open house, like a good location and everything, it makes a huge difference. Now, a second comment I had recently an experience, you're talking about how is it evolved. The house has had a lot of challenges, because of some background that's happened in this house. And it was a really super desirable neighborhood in North Phoenix. And actually what we did, I looked at all the possible objections that could be that people see the house, because a lot of them knew the history of the house. They knew what's happened there, and they just they would decide maybe not to pursue it or something. A lot of people were curious to see the house. So I did a really amazing open house. I actually brought a guitar player, so bring some good thoughts and good vibe to the house. And I had, you mentioned a lender, so I did bring a lender guy. I made him bake cookies, just old-fashioned cookies. And actually, it was unbelievable. We had like so many people there. We sold it in a week. I actually double-ended it, and I sold it over asking price. So it was a pretty amazing experience for an open house, but it was tailored for that specific house. So it was not just throwing your signs and go do it. So.
No,
Anyway,
that's it.
that's what
So
I want to say.
now, you say you did an evening open house as well?
No. No,
So,
just the last open house I was talking about is I did it in the I think it was I did 3 days in a row, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We had unbelievable amount of people. Just because that area would, the people more available during that time. Now, if you in an area that's more like we have a lot of resorts areas like golf course and stuff, so people are always like La La Land. They come on vacation, they go golf, and then they go for lunch. So they have time. They go to look at houses, right? So that's a different vibe. This one is a true family neighborhood, working, very upscale neighborhood, and people are going to work and actually coming back and after work or in the weekend they'll be more available. In other words,
so if anybody wants to be on a I guess I'll call it like a project or a task force to create a better open house, um, put it in the chat or message me directly because I want to try to figure out how we can change that experience because I look back and I say, and Dan, you said that was like 30 years ago when you did the first one.
yeah, that was
Now, when you first started out in the business, you probably didn't have as much knowledge. I mean, you certainly didn't have as much knowledge and experience as you have now, but you probably had a little bit more enthusiasm because you were just getting started out. Is that a fair
I had s-
assessment?
I had so much enthusiasm. I couldn't even speak English. So yeah, it was pretty good.
So,
I
so,
was
so,
laughing. I passed my real estate exam without speaking English, so it was pretty funny.
so you balance the enthusiastic, youthful entrance in the business to the experienced person that we probably get a little bit. Um, we get a little bit maybe cynical. We're not as energetic. We're not as attractive, and I mean we don't pull people in because we're excited about the business anymore. Once we've been in it for a while.
I disagree with
Um,
you.
okay.
I disagree because I think now when you're more knowledgeable, you know the neighborhood. Actually, you talk to people, you kind of know what they're gonna say. You know what possible objections are. You know the neighborhood. You know the area. I'm super enthusiastic about presenting it to a potential serious buyer. Now, if somebody wastes my time, you're right. I have no interest in that, and I just turn off immediately. But which back 30 years ago, I would not do that because I wouldn't even know. But
So,
now I can spot it up front.
so Dan, and I guess I'm going to try to summarize my thought process is let's just say 30 years ago you did that open house for 2 weekends, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, right? And most of the buyers had an agent. And on the sixth day, you had one person that didn't have an agent who bought a house. You'd be like, oh my God, open houses are the best thing ever. Fast forward 30 years later, and you're like, five of the six, almost all the people had agents. Only one person was a serious buyer. I think the perspective that we might have, and I could be incorrect with the way you process it, Dan, but I'm saying a lot of us would say, hey, I wasted 5 days. I'm not even going to do the sixth day. And I think that's kind of what I'm saying about the enthusiasm for being not knowledgeable and new in the business because you're trying to do anything you can to make a sale. If you're able to blend those two together, where you can take our knowledge and we can get some more of that rookie enthusiasm and energy back, I think that would be really contagious for open houses.
I think we need to change our thinking. Like if you're a new agent and you sit in open house, for me, I was excited to have somebody on my CRM so I can follow up with them for 20 years until they buy something or whatever time. So I just had nobody on my CRM. So this open house helped me fill it up quite a bit and follow up with people and get more practice. Now we basically want to meet somebody that maybe will buy the next couple months. So that's two different mindsets and that this matter. But But and again, depends on the open house. I don't think every house is a good candidate for an open house. Actually, most of maybe not. You know, if you find a really amazing house that everybody want to see it, sure, yeah, hold it open. If not, I'm better off without holding an open house because I don't want to hold every house open and spend my time there.
Rob, I
So,
love
so
doing open houses.
I see that. So who wants to help me reinvent the open house?
Me.
All right. I have one volunteer. That's it.
So
I
Rob,
have every
you-
Saturday, Sunday for the next 3 weeks coming up, open houses. So any advice would be great.
So
Hey, Ron.
do I have a second taker?
Hey,
so
Ron.
Rob, this is Anne Marie.
Hey, Anne Marie, how are you?
I'm good, new to the office. I just wanted to say that I did an open house last weekend. And when I do my open houses, in the notes, it says that the agent is to accompany the buyer. So I had 4 agents come with their clients, and I had 2 that were, let's just say, kicking tires, new to being out there. One of them did not have a buyer's agency agreement, so I had to give them, the documents, the CIS and all that. But that's how I started to run my open houses because I kind of got tired of agents not representing their buyers. And I've done it multiple times and it seems to work pretty well.
Very good.
Hey, Rob.
Yes.
Hi. When you were asking who has held an open house within the last month, I have. And one of the things that I really like to do when I hold an open house is communicate with the other agents in the area that are also having open houses because, and just say, hey, send people my way, I'll send people your way. I like to print out what the other open houses are. If there's a buyer that isn't represented, then I'll walk over to that open house with that particular buyer. I ask the other agents, hey, this is where I am. I know where you are. This is the time I'm going to be there. And I like to do that for a couple of reasons. I get to know the other agents in the area. So if I have an offer that's going to come to them, or they have an offer that's going to come to me, that we kind of already, we've spoken before. A lot of agents that I've spoken to really appreciate doing that. So, yeah.
Thank you. And I'm gonna try to
I'll be your
wrap up.
second taker, Rob.
Go ahead.
I'll be your second taker for the open houses with Lisa.
All right. So we got Ryan and Lisa. Um,
Hey, Rob, I wanted to mention something about leveraging. A lot of us don't leverage our CRM correctly. And I think if a lot of us actually, we're not good at it. I'm just saying in general, realtors throughout the years aren't good at managing their CRM. If they had somebody else managing their CRM, can kind of give them a roadmap of what they need to do every day, because they're not. And I can see it, from the people around me. They probably go weeks without logging in, and that's probably the the number one resource for us to get the clients to our door.
and here's another piece to that, Paul, is how about leveraging our professional networks, right? The insurance agent you referred to, the lender, the attorney, if it's in New Jersey, maybe it's the escrow company or the title company.
I
I
went
know
to get
that.
a haircut today. I asked the guy for, if he knew anybody who was looking to buy, so everywhere it's that Buffini thing, that mayor campaign that I learned years ago that still works today.
Yep. So, but even bringing it back a little bit tighter, Paul, how many times do you refer? What attorney do you prefer? Do you refer? Is there one or two that you refer? You don't need to mention names.
2, 3.
And how many deals have you gave them in the past 3 years?
Yeah.
How many do you think you've referred to those two attorneys in the past 3 years? 20, 30, 40?
Yeah,
And how many how many clients have they referred back to us?
probably one.
Right. And it will probably be zero unless you ask for it, right? Because
Yeah,
I'm sure that attorney works with, 10 other successful agents, right? And it isn't top of mind thinking about what am I going to do, or not looking for business to refer out. But if you even, say, hey, Paul, I just want to ask you, am I doing all right? Oh, yeah, you're great, man. You manage your transactions well. It was what the attorney might say, and say, hey, I'm just curious, I've given you 39 pieces of business and I haven't gotten anything from you.
we got his personal house.
No, but like who's comfortable having those conversations?
I think everybody should be comfortable having those conversations.
I believe it too, but I think most of us don't have those, okay? And then I feel like the next mastermind I'm going to do might be, I love real estate because, and there's going to be all the reasons why we're going to become a rookie. We're going to become that we're going to have the rookie energy with the experience that we all have. Alex, do you have your hand raised?
I do, but it's off topic. So you finish
Go
up your
ahead.
final thought, and I'll just mention something else.
No. So my final comment is many of us have years, if not decades, of experience and are amongst the most qualified people to handle clients within our business or our area. Um, we just need to have that contagious energy to get people to want to work with us, so we're not chasing them, where they want to seek us out. And I think my next topic is going to be I love real estate because, and now I'm going to turn it over to Alex.
Thank you, Rob. For those that are going to R4 next week, we're doing a Zoom right after this call. It's Zoom with RSG.com. And we'd love to connect with the RSG family. So if you are coming, reach out to us on the Zoom. And we're going to discuss strategies on how to maximize your time at a convention. So if you got some time, hang on, go to a different Zoom link, Zoom with RSG.com, and we'll be there in 30 seconds.
Thanks, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thanks,
Bye now.
Rob. Bye-bye.